Yo, what's up, guys? It's Talon, and today we're going to be going over a pretty insane carry in a very, very hard game, and just kind of talk about, the game itself. At this point in the season, now that we're pretty much at the end of the season, I've made videos on every topic that I could think of that are genuinely relevant towards climbing, or that I've used, the different tips and whatever that I've used for climbing. So if you go to my roles playlist, you watch whatever role it is that you're interested in. If you watch those videos, I feel like you would have enough information to get Sovereign. Obviously, given that you apply all the tips and take the time to improve on them, obviously you're not going to get Sovereign overnight. But like at this point, I've kind of shared with you guys a vast majority of my knowledge that I have about anything that I could generalize. Like I've generalized every kind of decision I make and given you guys the information on that. And so here we're just going to go into a specific game and just talk through my application of the different things without necessarily generalizing it. Again, just focus more on the specific game itself. And so even just looking initially in the lane matchup, so as I do with any champion, I'm always punishing their last hits whenever they walk up. Vex specifically is very bad into Syndra because Vex really gets outranged very heavily by Syndra, and because of that, I'm just able to very easily play the lane phase. So he ended up over pushing into me, using his first ability too aggressively to push into me, leading to his wave being in a situation like this, which means I can easily punish him every time he walks up for last hits. And then because he's so low, he's going to be too scared to walk up for plenty of last hits, which means I get to deny him a lot of gold, and he loses out on minions like, for example, again, multiple minions that he ended up missing out on because the wave was frozen, led to an early freeze. And then at this point now, I do want to definitely look to get the wave pushed because I want to recall for mana boots. So not only did we deny him multiple minions, which means he doesn't have enough gold for mana boots, but then we find a great recall for mana boots. So now he recalls, and he's going to be weaker than me, or he stays, and then I get, in this case, he stays, and then I get back before him. So now he's stuck on the wave for a lot longer than me. Has to clear an entire wave, which then gives me complete control of this wave, which then lets me freeze this next wave on him, denying him another 2 minions, as you see here, leading to, again, just quite a big gold lead early on in this matchup. I could think he got that minion, so he loses 1, but still have quite a nice early lead here. I have a lot of stacks going. I meant to auto-aim that second ability onto him. Unfortunately, auto-aim to the minion. And at this point, this is kind of what you want to do when you have an advantage, is sort of just have this slow push building up. You don't want the wave to end up being too far pushing into you. And then if they do use all their abilities like he did to just keep pushing the wave, you just, again, poke them out and deny them a bunch of gold. So he's lost multiple of these minions because he over pushed the wave. Like, he used all his abilities to push the wave when the wave was high health, so it only killed a couple of the minions. And then the other minions were like half health, and then he lost them because I obviously poked him out and, pressured him too much. And then here, I clicked my ultimate because I knew I was at 39 stacks. And so I knew that the 40th stack would get me 2 extra Q procs when I would be able to evolve my Q, because you have to be 40 stacks to evolve your Q. So I ulted to proc the evolve, and then I evolved, and that made him flash there. Here, I'm hovering my flash because I'm worried if Vex might ult, so that's why I was like holding my flash out in case I saw Vex ult so I could react faster. So again, I'm just talking about all the different things I'm thinking about throughout the game, so you guys can really get into my head. Obviously, this is, recorded, but these are the things that I was thinking about during the game, and the things that I typically think about during games. First 3 minutes, you can just see like the different things that we're really concerned with. And then again, he over pushes the wave, so I just punish him by using all my abilities on him. So like, notice how he's using all his abilities on the wave, I'm using my abilities on him. And then all that leads to is, again, he keeps half pushing the wave. Like, and I'm just trying to deny his recall so that he just screwed over longer, because I have a freeze on him. So the longer that his recall is screwed over, the more gold he loses out on. But again, here, like, he just keeps half pushing the wave, not getting it fully pushed, and then I'm able to freeze on him, deny him gold again. He did the same thing. He uses abilities, he loses one of the minions because he's just too squishy to walk up. He walks up, he dies. So we just have this, again, constant lead being built up. And Vex is a champion who wants to roam, wants to make plays around the map, get the resets, whatever. Syndra wants to stay in lane, and I've kept this guy in lane permanently because he's just going to lose out on all the gold if he ever leaves. And then here, unfortunately, he does get to leave. That guy was going to die anyway. Frankly, it's kind of good that it went to the Vex because the Vex is pretty bad. But you can see he got a kill and he's still down 300 gold to me. We expected the ult reset. That's why I was in a position to dodge there, because I knew he used his ult to kill, so he's going to have the ult reset and he'll just want to waste the ult because it will expire soon. But again, we just play for this constant lane dominance. If he ever does roam like that, even if he gets a kill, he's still down a bunch of gold to me. And again, if he doesn't get a kill, very, very bad for him. And the kill going to him, which obviously he's a pretty bad player, given how the lane's gone so far and how he's played the lane. Him getting that gold's not as scary as, say, one of the other, opponents who are shitting on my teammates getting gold. But obviously, as you can see, this game was still very difficult. Here, I want to make sure I stay for one more wave to get Infinity Orb. But here you can see the game was still very difficult due to the fact that all my laners are losing, and even Vex ended up getting a kill, still down gold, but got the kill. And so you're going to see the game is going to continue to get worse far before it gets better. But the only thing I'm concerned with now that I kind of realize, okay, like I've got a good gold lead, I'm hitting my Infinity Orb. Usually if I hit Infinity Orb before Dragon, I'm happy. Hitting it 40 seconds before Dragon, super happy. I just want to get gold. Like at the end of the day, I want to get gold and I want to get stacks. So I'm going to continue to play to get my lane pushed. And then after my lane's pushed, I want to find gold wherever I can find gold. It's not going to be too much more complicated than that for the most part. So if I see Vex roam, or obviously here we see we can just flash onto Vex because my jungle's here. We get the free gank set up. Obviously we'll always take that. We want to get some plates out of this now. Make sure that we get value out of our kill basically. Like their jungler, we don't know where they are, but their mid laner's dead. So even if they came, it'd just be a 1v2. We'd be fine. So we end up just getting a bunch of free gold out of this. I don't remember if we get the turret, maybe not, because yeah, Yone does end up showing up. We cleanse the Yone ult so it doesn't fully kill us. And we basically just have to run away from there. But we got multiple plates, a bunch of gold. Overall, obviously a very positive outcome for us. And so even though, again, my team is doing quite poorly, because of our lane dominance, we are able to have quite a nice gold lead. And that always sets us up for kind of like having a chance of coming back. And that's, again, what I've talked about plenty of times with you guys. In many different videos. Here I was looking at, I remember this now. I literally like was looking at the Herald and then Vex killed me, and then by the time I was like dead is when I realized that I was dead. Like I didn't even know there was a Vex on my screen. But you can see I'm up 1400 gold and Vex has 3 kills and I have 1 kill. So even though obviously that's not ideal, dying like that, we still have a lot of gold in ourselves, and so we know we keep farming up. Like I currently still have the most gold in the game, I think, or at least top 2, but I think I have the most gold in the game. And so we always kind of have that chance coming back. Again, I'm just trying to hit my death cap at this point. Once again, I realized that the game is hard. Also, if you're wondering, I did not mean to switch the control word. That was an accident. But yeah, it's obviously going to be a hard game, but at this point, just got to find gold wherever I can. And I hit the death cap. I can always have a situation where I carry. Like the enemy only really have to make one dumb mistake in order for me to suddenly feel, you know, pretty confident in coming back. Here, I'm just trying to squeeze the turret out, but then Varus shows up. So obviously I don't want to walk too far forward in case he ults me or whatever. Once again, just want to get on the wave as fast as I can. But here, because Varus and Vex were hovering, and because Vex could one-shot me, I want to make sure I get the fruit before I get the wave, rather than just contesting straight on the wave. Whereas if, say, it was, I don't know, like an Orianna, I might just contest the wave right away to make sure I get that wave pushed and then find a recall angle. But in this situation, instead, I end up doing it in that order, which then means that the wave's already almost coming, since, again, I waited a little bit to kill this wave, which then means I get to immediately stay for the next wave, and now I have options of going for mid-turret or going roaming / recalling. The reason I did not go for the mid-turret is because if Vex wasn't there, the mid-turret would die naturally because it was 200 health, so it would die to the minions anyway. But if I did go and Vex showed up, then I just wouldn't get the turret. So basically, if you ever have a situation where you're kind of not sure where people are and you know that the turret will die naturally to your minions if you just let it go after you push the wave, then don't go forward, because then you're going to have the chance, like an unnecessarily risky chance of dying, basically. Here, obviously, we just find the one-shot angle under the Vex, nothing too complicated there. I was waiting for my first ability to come up before I flashed. But yeah, like if you know that the wave will kill the turret and you don't know if you're going to die or not, then just don't walk up, because either it'll die to the minions, or if the enemy showed up and they stopped the minions, well, they would have stopped you as well anyway if you're there. So just unnecessary, you know, risk, and then instead there we end up getting that wave push. So again, you see kind of the same thing. I let the mid wave push. I know it's going to get there naturally, but because I realize that there's nothing else I can do right now, I go and get the local gold, just because the Vex isn't there, so I know I'm going to be pretty safe. Obviously, if I thought Vex might be there, I'm not going to go for that. And then here we're just hovering to try to catch out the Vex, because Vex is obviously going to look for my 1 HP Brand. My 1 HP Brand decides to stand close to me with the Vex ultimate for some reason and dies. So shout out to him for that, I guess. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Here, I'm trying to, after I push this wave, use the vision to kind of get a little sneak on the Vex here. You're going to see I walk a little out of vision. I know he doesn't see me, and so then I walk through the bush, and he thinks I'm not in here, but it turns out there's a Syndra in there. The Yone does show up, so I die afterwards, but you can see that little outplay, just using the Fog of War properly, knowing that because the minions are gone, he doesn't have any vision of me, so I can walk through the bushes, use that to get a little surprise attack on him, and again, get a lot of gold on myself. We get the mid turret out of that situation. We rotate. We catch out the Vex. Overall, good situation. And Lucian gets turret on the back end of that, which is obviously good as well. And so again, you see, like, this game is going very poorly for my team, and yet I still have maybe second most gold in the game at this point. I don't know. I don't really know the exact scoreboard, but I have a lot of gold. And again, we're getting closer and closer towards that death cap. I'm probably, yeah, I'm 9.4k gold in 10 minutes, so I'm 940 gold a minute. 940 gold a minute in a game where your team is down 7 kills is definitely extremely solid. I think my average gold per minute on Syndra is like 996 right now, something along those lines. And once again here, nothing too complicated. We just find the pick on the Mordekaiser, so we go with our team. Get a free kill, make sure to get the wave afterwards as well. And now we just pretty much want to hover the Baron. That's what I'm thinking about, you know, just as long as I hover Baron, make sure the enemy don't have an easy time getting it, then we're going to always have, again, like a decent chance for a comeback. Once again, wave's going to naturally kill bot side turret, so I don't need to walk forward and risk dying, because it'll die naturally. And then we see it does die because no one showed up. So yes, I miss out on the local gold, but because it's risky, it's fine to miss out on the local gold. Whereas if, again, you really need the local gold or you're safe, then it's fine. And then in this case, I stay up for a little longer because I'm 200 gold away from death cap. And so I don't want to recall when I'm close to death cap. I'd rather wait till I get it. Most of the time that's going to be the case, so you're going to want to do that. And it's a very common timer, actually, that you're about 200 gold away from death cap on Baron if you play how I play. Like, it's a very, very common kind of, yeah, amount of gold I find myself on. Just with the natural, you know, amount of gold I'm typically averaging in most games early on. So we end up staying around for that additional wave. We get the death cap, and now again, this is where we're kind of thinking like, okay, we can definitely fight, we can definitely do something, even though my team is behind. And so if I want to look for something, I'm going to look for something. And this fight makes sense, because again, even though it's a bad fight, because I would tell you guys, don't fight when your team is down and they contest random dragon. But the reason I do contest this one, again, is because my team is down, but I just hit a mega power spike, and they're going to go and fight anyway. You can see my team is very, very clearly going to fight this anyway. I might as well go when I'm hitting that power spike, because like I'm hitting death cap. Most other people on the enemy team aren't 3 items. I don't even know if any are. Maybe they're Yone. Like maybe one person's 3 items max. But I have the chance to solo carry a fight. So when you have that chance, you'd want to go and do that. And you're going to see I'm going to not carry this fight. We find a really nice engage, but unfortunately Mordekaiser finds the ult on us, just barely in range. And so this ends up making the fight go really bad. Again, you can see like if I didn't get hit by a Mordekaiser ult, which I was barely in range of, we can end up probably carrying that fight with that early QE that we found and all the damage we found. And so instead the fight goes super poorly here. And again, as I said, if we're able to control solo queue teammates, we would have not had our team go there. We would have hovered the Baron. But obviously because of a solo queue circumstance, sometimes that's just how it goes. The enemy or my teammates contest, but it makes sense to contest just because I'm hitting death cap, even though again it doesn't make sense if we could control our teammates' choices. And so because of that, again, we almost are able to carry that fight, even though it doesn't look like it, because we obviously get Mordekaiser ulted early. But if we're keeping better track of Mordekaiser ult, we're more aware of the fact that, hey, Mordekaiser could ult us. I definitely could have lived that, could have stayed out of his range, and we would have been fine. Instead, he ends up catching us out and leads to the fight going poorly, which again would have been a hard fight regardless, just due to the fact that the enemy were obviously very, very far ahead. At this point, all I'm concerned with is getting the waves pushed out, though. They have Baron, but the first Baron's not super scary because it's just a minute and 30 seconds that it lasts. So by the time they reset and then come back, it's already relatively close to expiring. So we just want to make sure we're hovering, not losing too much, not losing like inhibs or whatever. Just want to look for a little pick over the wall here. But I do end up getting caught here. Barely don't one-shot the Varus. I thought I was going to one-shot him there for sure, but we don't end up one-shotting him. Vex ends up getting the kill on us, and so it's definitely a very bad situation overall. And when you get to this point in the game, you're definitely not expecting to win due to your own gameplay. At this point, the enemy have to mess up in order for us to win. But because they're not pushing bot and they're not pushing top, there's a chance to win. Like, mid inhib dying doesn't really matter. It just funnels you more gold, and it gives the enemy prio, but it doesn't give them anything crazy. Whereas getting a side lane inhib gives a bunch of free pressure, right? Like, you're just constantly, like, let's say I want to do the dragon, the Elder Dragon, but the bot lane inhib's dead. Very hard to do that when there's constant pressure on my bot side. But when it's mid, like, I can clear the mid wave and then just walk to the dragon pretty easily. So we're definitely not out of it, but we do have to rely on the enemy to mess up at some point. As long as we're farming, anytime we see that opportunity for the enemy to mess up, we just take advantage of that. So again, all I'm really doing here is just looking for poke, looking for picks. If we find one pick, all of a sudden, you know, we're not in that bad of a spot. I can't believe that Vex actually takes this, by the way. That's a maniac right there. Absolute maniac, Vex. I don't know why he did that. But either way, shout out to the Vex. Definitely a unique individual there. Got us a free kill. And I mean, these are the random free kills that you look for. You know, you see one of those, and maybe you can find a second pick, for example, on Blitzcrank here. We don't, but these are the things we're looking for. And you can see multiple opportunities, like people are one shot. Like even in the situation in the Dragon team fight, nearly killed the enemy there. Same situation where we almost killed the Varus. almost one shot the Blitzcrank there as well. So like a lot of times where we're nearly finding these picks, we're just not quite finding them. So if the enemy make one similarly dumb mistake, because they have made a lot of dumb mistakes, we definitely still have a chance. So that's pretty much what I'm thinking about at this point in the game. So again, you saw like there's a lot more going through my mind in the first 11 minutes of the game, and then past 11 minutes, most of the time it's just like, oh, fight objectives, and if we're behind a lot, hope the enemy throw. Not too much more than that, you know, at this point. That's kind of the point of Syndra, is you farm and then you get to turn your brain off and just fight, make sure you're thinking of enemy spells, keeping track of those types of things. Like that's really what I'm looking for at this point in the game. And I think I'm like 600 gold or 500 gold from Crown, so I'm trying to stay up to get Crown instead of recalling right now, because again, I know that, yeah, like that's what I click my scoreboard to check. That's what I was checking there, is how far from Crown. So I see that I'm pretty close, so I'm like, hey, let me just try to hover this mid wave, look for something. Even if my teammates die or whatever, I don't really care, just because the Baron's not up yet. But once we see an opportunity to rotate topside afterwards, like I can look for a pick and see. Pretty scared of Mordekaiser, kind of waiting for him to use ult or something, and then yeah, I'm like, yeah, there's not that much we can do here. Lucian pushing out the side lane is not too bad, again, because the Baron is the thing that matters. So the enemy are just forcing a fight on top side, while Baron and bot side's being pushed. Like that's pretty bad by the enemy. They're ahead, so it doesn't matter too much. But at this point, we're just trying to kind of defend the inhib, maybe see if we can get a one-shot on Mordekaiser because of the fact that the turret is hitting him, but doesn't work out. Honestly, should have probably ulted Yone, but I don't think he would have quite died because he had the Bloodthirster. Either way, could have had better target priority there. And at this point, we should just kind of hover the Baron, realistically, so we should recall, grab our Crown. I think I grab a... No, I don't grab a Proto Belt. I think I eventually grab a Proto Belt this game. But yeah, we just see we want anti-shield for the Bloodthirster and the Gargoyle on Blitzcrank, whatnot. And then again, you can see mid lane inhib's dead, but I just go in one shot a wave. It's not the end of the world that they have that pressure. And then again, we just try to hover the Baron, make sure the enemy can't get it, hope that they make some type of throw around it, but still make sure we get the mid pushed out so that the enemy can't just, you know, front door us, I guess. Not really a back door, it'd be more of a front door. But we're pretty much just waiting for the enemy to make one dumb mistake here, hovering the Baron. People throw around Barons so often, so I'm just trying to get vision around it, see if they, you know, try to flip it, see if I can get a steal. Unfortunately, the Vex is really rude here, and he does almost one-shot me, but luckily we cleanse, and then this is where the game kind of turns around. There, Yone goes too deep after the Vex goes on me. We live on 1 HP, so instead of the enemy living on 1 HP, this time I'm the one living on 1 HP. We get the double kill out of it because of how much damage we have from all the farm we've had. I didn't realize Mordekaiser was back there, by the way. I, like, totally did not notice that. He was in the ultimate, and then when, you know, came out. But yeah, like, this is where the game starts to turn around. You can see, and now we got Elder Dragon in a minute and a half, so as long as we can continue to snowball this kind of initial good fight, we have a chance to win now. And one thing I do want to note as well is just the timing of my spell usage. So like Vex ulted me and I'm already thinking, okay, Vex is going to ult me. I can't flash first. I need to let Vex land and then cleanse and then be able to flash after. Because if you flash, it follows you, right? So I didn't want the ult to follow me, and just doing that ended up saving my life. And so thinking about the simple spells the enemy have and how I'm going to react to them literally won us the game. Like, I'm not saying I'm the only one who did anything there that won the game, but we would not have won the game if I didn't do that. Because I would have been dead and then we wouldn't have had enough damage. We would have lost. And so those types of things are super important, keeping track of the enemy spells, and we saw it there specifically in the game when I got Vex ulted. And then here is also something that I think is extremely important to talk about. So we're still in a spot where the game's kind of hard, and I end up seeing Vex on the bot side going pretty far up, 44 seconds before the Elder. And if we know death timers in the late game are roughly 45-50 seconds. I don't actually know, like, exactly. I don't even know exactly how death timers are calculated, but I do know it's roughly 50 seconds in the late game. And so if we go and find this pick on him, he's going to be dead for Elder. And so I'm really heavily seeing if I can find some type of pick. This is especially something to do in a game that's hard. Like, if you're in a game where you don't think you're probably going to win a 5v5, because I still don't think we're going to win a 5v5 with how bad my team is. I want to find something to give us that edge during the fight. And so when you see this type of situation, you're like, oh, we have a timer before the objective to find this pick. You look for it. I'm pinging my team. I see 3 of the enemy mid, so I know I'm probably pretty safe here. And we end up finding the one shot on the Vex. And that leads to us now having the advantage for the Elder. Like, we would have been still slightly disadvantaged, / pretty even going into the Elder. Instead, we're advantaged. And then my Viego's like, hey, wait, you have an advantage? Let me just be an idiot. And so he does decide to die. And so we no longer have that advantage. But imagine we didn't kill the Vex there, right? We'd be at a very big disadvantage instead. And so even just that, you know, kind of made it so that our Viego's mistake didn't lose us the game when it otherwise probably would have. And now all I'm really trying to do here, and you see I obviously cleanse Verisalt, I'm pretty much just trying to bait out, or not bait out, but just distract the enemy at the Elder, essentially. And then here, I don't know how he didn't get one shot, but we kill him afterwards. So again, because we ended up cleansing that ult earlier, and we knew he had no flash because he flashed onto us, we're able to survive. Once again, living on 1 HP. So definitely some nice scenarios where we're able to live on 1 HP, whereas before the enemy, we're kind of living on 1 HP. Leads to a couple things where now we, again, have a chance, and it's just largely like the spell tracking with making sure we have our cleanse for the Varus ult, making sure we're reacting at time. Again, the Vex thing earlier. Finding that pick on Vex on the side lane. All these things made it really, really nice. And then, again, because it's a messy solo queue game, my team decides to throw right back and die, and we're still not in a great spot. But all I need to do is just hover the Baron, or hover the Elder, rather. Make sure the enemy can't just get it for free. That's why I'm sitting in this bush. I know, like, they don't have any ways to get on me. If I didn't have Crown, this would be Troll. I'd be throwing. But because I have Crown, I know that I can camp in that bush like that. Vex decides to try to one-shot me, but it turns out that I'm kind of an OP champion, and I one-shot him. Again, just because of how much more we'd farm than the Vex, like, it's all kind of coming back to help us out. And so we're able to get that kill on him. I realized that Yone could easily E onto me, so I decided to be really passive, positioned pretty far around the wall. And again, all these just little things, paying attention to the enemy's spells, you can see throughout these like later parts of the game, were really what allowed me to carry this. Like, we have the proper farming, and a lot of people can farm properly, but how you then play with that gold, again, that was kind of what was the difference maker here, this positioning that we had. And then we find a nice little pick there too. Shout out to Viego for getting most of that done. We kind of just, you know, took credit for his homework after he did most of it. I tried to one-shot the Yone here, but I kind of messed it up, and you're going to see I almost die for it. So this was a bit dumb of me, but luckily I do live. So once again, we live on 1 HP. Shout out to luck there, I guess. But either way, we end up having like a pretty good carry performance. Again, just wanted to go through the various thoughts that I had throughout the game. Again, this was a lot more just going through my thoughts of a specific game. Turn up my brightness, because why not? So I can see, you know, the victory screen at the end. But yeah, I don't know what you guys thought about this type of video, where I'm pretty much just telling you everything I was thinking, whereas other videos I have a really specific concept to focus on. I feel like at this point I've talked about like all the concepts, so going into a specific game and telling you guys more like what I am thinking. I don't know why my team didn't end the game there, but they didn't. I thought that might be a useful thing to make the video like that instead. And again, I don't have that many more concepts to talk about at the moment, unless I were to make a video that's going a lot more in depth on one, but that requires a lot of time, and I'm in college, so I have a lot of, you know, I don't have the most free time ever with streaming in college, whatever, so this is kind of an easier video for me to make as well. If you guys have other concepts you want to know about, though, or just other videos, champions you want to see, whatever, I plan to play more champions next season. This season, obviously, we're doing the, you know, like trying to climb as many accounts to Sovereign as possible, and so we stick to pretty few champions in order to make that possible. But next season, I do plan to play a bit more variety. I'm not going to learn a million champions, but I will, you know, occasionally lock in a counter pick that I like to play instead of just playing the same 2 or 3 champions every game. So that might be interesting. Maybe I'll be able to make more specific content around champions and whatnot. But either way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.